Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Jonathan Thomas, and welcome to a new episode of the JT Effect. I'm glad you all are here. We are on the Black Boss channel, so definitely subscribe and then hit the like button. We're going to be talking about a fun topic today, and I have an amazing guest for you guys today, Jeff Lightsy Jr. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. Hey, Jeff, man, how are you, dude?
Pretty good, John. How about yourself?
Man, I'm good, man. I can't complain at all, man. Everything is going great. I recently was watching. I'm late to the whole party, but I just recently saw the Mike Tyson fight, and Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. I'm not gonna take anything away from Roy Jones because Roy was there. You know what I'm saying? He was fighting. He was doing his thing, and it was very entertaining, man. I was entertained by it. I also saw the Nate Robinson fight. That was something.
It was something for sure.
Man, because I was well, actually, you know what? I'll just start there. So Nate Robinson, and for everybody tuning in, this is a special guest of mine, Sports Analyst Jeff Lightsy Jr. He is also on the Black Boss channel. He is very intelligent and he speaks from a Black perspective when it comes to sports and everything. So I felt like I definitely had to have somebody that has knowledge on this issue more than me on here. So I'm glad to have you on here to interview you, Jeff. I appreciate you being here, bro. So yeah, let's just start with the Nate Robinson thing. So what were your thoughts about that? Because I'll say what I thought later.
Yeah, so with Nate and Jake Paul, so Nate Robinson, who is played 10 years in the NBA, won 3 slam dunk competitions, so he's crazy athletic. He's just this great athlete, right? Like he played college football, right? He played in the NBA, so it means he played college basketball. So he is just insanely athletic. And then you got Jake Paul, who's a YouTuber, you know what I mean? Who does what we do. And he has no background in sports. No, nothing besides a fight against another YouTuber. He did a boxing match against another YouTuber and he won. So Nate Robinson saw the name Jake Paul and who this guy was. He's a pretty fit white guy, but Nate Robinson is a former pro athlete, former college football player, former college basketball player, 10 years, not like a 2 and done, 10 years at 5'9", which is crazy. Impressive. 5'9", lasted 10 years in the NBA. So what I think happened with Nate was he's like, this is a little punk white dude. He's 20-something years old. He don't know who he's messing with. I'm Nate Robinson. I'm the, you know what I'm saying? I'm the athlete. I'm the pro. So I'm about to train for a little bit, get right, get ready, or at least right in his mind, and go in this ring and beat up on dude. But what he failed to realize was Jake Paul's probably a little bigger than what he thought. Obviously a lot stronger than what he thought, and Jake Paul wants to be a boxer now. So Jake Paul has been training for a year, right? So if I've been doing something for an entire year, getting ready for this fight or for whenever a chance I can get to fight someone, and you've been training for a month and you've never boxed before, and I have a little experience in boxing, and I'm bigger than you because Jake Paul's bigger than Nate Robinson. And I'm bigger than you, and I may be stronger than you, and you're 35 and I'm 23. Then hell yeah, I'm about to knock you out. And that's what happened. Nate came in there, tried to rush Jake Paul all wild with all these crazy punches. And Jake Paul, who wasn't the most skilled boxer, like he's not gonna be a professional boxer, but he knows a little something, ducked, dodged, and hit him with a couple moves. And Nate didn't know how to move, and he knocked him out. And that's what happened there.
Dude, when I saw that, I couldn't believe what I was watching.
None of it's good.
Yeah, I saw Nate Robinson like try to just rush.
Yeah,
and I was thinking like, dude, I haven't had any kind of boxing training really, but I know in a fight, I'm not just gonna rush a dude unless I'm Mike Tyson. Unless I know what I'm, but again, he's trained in fighting, in boxing. So I'm not just gonna rush a dude. That doesn't make any sense for me to just go in and just try to punch. And it's just like that doesn't make sense. I was watching, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert in boxing again, but I'm just like, dude, what are you doing?
Well,
Like,
you do that when you think you can bully somebody, right? Like that's the only like if I think I am just like it's like the big brother, little brother, right? Like you might just run up on your little brother when y'all kids or something and try to beat up on them because you think you the bully, right? Like you think you can do that. But if your little brother is actually bigger than you, stronger than you, and knows how to fight, he's not just gonna let you run up on him and pick on him. Like, and that's what happened to Nate.
Man, yeah, that was. I mean, but again, even though I know we all be joking about it and all this stuff, but kudos for even getting in the ring. He didn't have to do that because a lot of people be talking noise, but they won't even get in the ring. So I'll give him props for that because I mean that takes a lot, just to get in the ring, to put yourself out there to be better. Because he could have gotten just knocked out the first time and just laid there, but he kept getting up, and I give him props for that, because. That's embarrassing. So
yeah, it was definitely embarrassing.
I mean, but it's props to him. But we go on. So there's only so much we can talk about with that because there's memes galore. But for everybody tuning in, if you're watching this, please feel free to hit the like button so that way this can be seen more because we're about to dive into the Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield topic because that's important because I saw an article that popped up today that Evander Holyfield was basically saying to Mike Tyson after seeing Mike Tyson fight with Roy, like, hey, man, sign a contract and get in the ring. And I was like, dang, it's getting serious. So make sure y'all hit the like button, share this video because we're about to dive in. We're not going to have it too long today, but we're going to dive into it. Also, if you haven't, subscribe to the Black Boss channel. Please subscribe to the Black Boss channel so you can get more info like this. If you want more analysis on all things sports, my man right here, Jeff Lightsy Jr., is the man for their job, and he's on there like almost every other day, or I don't know what his schedule is, but he's on there a lot. So and he knows what he's talking about. So subscribe and, like I said, hit the like button. So anyway, to go into the main topic, Evander Holyfield, like I said, there was an article that said, and I'll share this article so that you all can see what I'm talking about, what I saw. And it is Evander Holyfield said to Mike Tyson, sign a contract and get in the ring. So clearly, Evander doesn't have time for the BS, and so to say. So he saw Tyson, fight in the ring, and he looked well, and he did very well against Roy. In my opinion, it seems like this is this author's opinion too, Cameron Wolf, ESPN staff writer. And basically, Evander is just like, hey, he's basically saying, what is it? My side tried to make the fight happen, and we got nothing but excuses. Now I can see why he wanted a tune-up fight before thinking about fighting me. No more excuses. This is the fight that must happen for both our legacies. Saturday night, you said you were ready to fight me. So sign a contract and get in the ring, Tyson. The world is waiting, and it's on you now. I'm ready. And there's some more to there, but I'm going to get into that a little bit later. Jeff, I want to get your take. I guess so the first question I'll just ask is, how did you think that Mike Tyson looked? I mean, do you think he can still go after this exhibition bout that he had with Roy Jones Jr.? Or what are your thoughts on that?
So, yeah, he can go against old men, right? Like Mike Tyson isn't coming back to pro boxing anytime soon. These are exhibition matches. So that means they don't count towards a professional record. They are what they are because these men are 50 years old. Right, so like that is so he looked good for a 50-year-old man. I'm not going to take that away from him. Both him and Roy Jones, I thought, put up good fights. I mean, before the fight, obviously Tyson was the heavy favorite or whatever, and they called it a draw. But if we really being real, Tyson probably won. But both of them looked good. Roy was still moving around pretty well. Tyson was still delivering crazy body blows to Roy Jones. Like, I mean, I think they had a stipulation where they couldn't hit up top. I think it was like no knockouts around the face. Now, it wasn't the same, obviously, for Jake Paul and Nate Robinson, but Tyson was limited to giving Roy Jones these powerful body shots. And he looked good for a 50-year-old man. And so that's what I thought about Tyson. And I was excited. I was glad to see, him back in the ring and back and doing something that he really enjoys in boxing, both him and Roy Jones, in more of a safe manner, even though they were giving each other punishment. But it was something that was like a safe environment.
Yeah. So for everybody that's tuning in, if you watch the fight and like us, like who just watched the fight, let us know what you think, dude. I mean, they said it was a draw, but do you think it was a draw, or do you think that Tyson won, or do you think that Roy Jones won? I want to know what y'all think, because I don't want it to be just us. I want y'all to engage too, so that way we can see what y'all thinking and get that poll from y'all. Like, do you think that Roy Jones won that, or do you think that Mike Tyson won that fight? Jeff was saying he thinks that Mike won that, and I mean, Roy got some shots in, so if anything, he might have gotten points wise. I mean, the video I was watching, it wasn't really that great, because it wasn't, I got like the bootleg feed, so I wasn't able to get to that. So some stuff I was missing, but yeah, I think that ultimately Tyson won that, but again, I don't know. So y'all put in what y'all think, who won that fight, and we'll see from there what the polls are. Also, put in B1. Everybody that's tuning in, put in B1 if you're Black First, because we are here with Black First. We give these Black types. I'm Black before I'm a Republican. I'm Black before I'm a Democrat. I'm Black before whatever. So B1 in the comments. Okay, so I do agree with you. These are two old men that are getting in the ring fighting, Jeff. So, but I mean, like I was impressed by, especially because this is one thing I was kind of afraid of, because I had two thoughts. I was like, either Mike Tyson is gonna like knock him out early, but then they came out with that BS kind of like, oh, no knockouts, which I get it, it's to be safe. But at the same time, it was just like, man, hey, I want to see a fight. That's why I'm watching boxing. I'm not watching boxing and put on the kitty gloves and let's just play.
Pillow fight. You don't want to see no pillow fight. You want to see guys throwing haymakers and somebody. You want to see what happened with Jake Paul and Nate Robinson. Like, that's what boxing is about. And so that's what we kind of were cheated out of when it came to the Tyson and Roy Jones, because I do think if knockouts were allowed, just for simply how tired Roy Jones was at the end, right? Like Tyson, I mean, he was tired too, but Roy Jones was huffing and puffing, and he let it be known in his post-fight interviews, both in the ring and at the booth, was like, man, like if this was 2 more rounds, I don't know if I'd have made it. Like, it's basically what he sounded like to me. Like, man, he was huffing and puffing some more. Like, he was dead dog tired by the end of that fight. And so that's why I think it was limited to the amount of rounds, whereas Tyson was still ready to go. Like, he still wanted to box some more. But Roy was like, nah, cut the tape, man. Cut it off. Let's end it. He was dragging himself to the finish line.
Yeah, I was talking to my best friend about it. He was saying that Roy, because I saw a little bit of that. Maybe it's just in a different interview, but he was saying, the punches that he was receiving hurt. And then when he punched Tyson, it hurt. And I was like, dang, it hurt you to punch him too? It's just like, please,
exactly.
Stop the fight.
Exactly.
I can't keep fight. Yeah, man. So that was really interesting. I mean, but just like you said, I saw Roy, but again, he was taking like some heavyweight body shots.
Yeah.
So I mean, just like Snoop was saying, man, he was tenderizing them ribs, man. Them body shots are. I mean, he was smart to clinch, because any other boxer, typically most boxers that go in the ring with Mike Tyson gets knocked the. It gets the Nate Robinson treatment, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, and Roy wasn't like, hey, I'm not going for that, so it's just like, I'm clinching. It probably from some people came out across as a more boring fight, but I couldn't be mad at it, because I was like, hey man, I don't want you to get knocked out per se neither. I mean, so that's smart. I don't blame you.
No, that was the best. That was definitely the best route Roy Jones could have gone, because at the end of the day, Roy got some nice shots in, but there was never a threat of Roy putting real hurt on Tyson. Like, even when he landed good shots, it didn't really look like it hurt him that much. It sounded loud, and it probably did hurt, but it didn't look like it hurt. But in reverse, when Tyson would hit Roy, it looked like he felt every one of those punches. Like, it looked like it really hurt. Now, and that was like one of the biggest differences in the fight, and why most people would say that Tyson really won in that fight against Roy Jones.
Yeah, I mean, and it was unfair, because this is like a completely different weight class in a sense, I mean. Yeah. I mean, I know Tyson lost weight, and I don't know I forgot what their weights were respectively to each other, but I mean, you are fighting a much stronger, because in different weight classes, once you keep going up, the power is so much stronger behind those blows. So I mean, it took a lot of courage for Roy to get in their ring with Mike like that, because with Mike's history, like just as a boxer, and who knows what's gonna happen? It's like, man, should have wore that hair protection to protect his ears just in case Mike got upset or something. He was clenching a lot, and I was like, man, I hope he's not hungry. So.
Well, speaking of that, like the ear biting, just in regards to Holyfield. Now, the thing about Holyfield and Tyson, obviously we know their history, right? Like they fought twice in the 90s. Holyfield won both fights because he was beating up on Tyson, and Tyson bit him twice in that first fight, and then the second fight, Holyfield kind of knocked him out. You know what I'm saying? So like that is their history. Like that's what they have. Now, the reason why that one will be a lot more interesting than the Roy Jones fight is because one, Holyfield has fought Tyson like when they were younger, right? Holyfield is more recently retired from boxing. So he's boxed, and his last fight was 10 years ago, right? Yeah. So like that's a long time, but it's a lot more recent than Tyson's, who was 15 years ago. So Holyfield fought for a very long time, like well into his 40s. And he's beat Tyson. He's a bigger man than Roy Jones, right? Like Roy Jones, like you said, the weight classes. Roy Jones, I think they ended up being around the same weight, but Roy Jones just physically isn't as big of a man as Mike Tyson, and he isn't as big of a man as Evander Holyfield. And so that's why the fight with Holyfield will be super interesting, because of their history, because of Holyfield's actual size and power, and because it's Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. Like, it's just the name. Like, the names alone will bring out the masses to come watch. Even these two at 50 years old, the masses will come out and watch to see Evander Holyfield versus Mike Tyson again. Part 3, the trilogy, 25 years after, the original.
Yeah. I mean, I think I read that where Evander was saying that he wanted to fight if there was I guess the stipulation is there has to be a 25 million purse for him to fight, because he knows it's going to be big. He knows it's going to bring in money. So, I mean, rightfully so. You're just like, hey, well, I want to get paid for this, because if you're going to have me and Mike, which I'm down for me and Mike to get in the ring, but I want to get that money for that, because I know a lot of people are going to pay for that, for, the trilogy, for the finale of this entire roller coaster of a fight, of a matchup, just to finally get their closure. So I can understand that. So I'll just go into my next question then, since we were already talking about, Mike and Roy being up in age because of that fight, but Tyson was still looking good, even though there was kind of like a lightweight match for him. Actually, I'll say this before. So again, both of them look great. I was kind of afraid for Roy on one hand, because I didn't really know who to necessarily go with. I was more so leaning towards Tyson before the fight even started, because I was like, well, Tyson is the power puncher. Like, he's just, I mean, I was afraid for his trainer in that video where he punched the trainer.
Punching the bag, punching the body in the bag.
Dude, I was just like, man, like, how old is this dude again? Good Lord.
Crazy.
And so I was afraid for Roy to get caught slipping on that end. But also I was kind of worried, because historically, towards, once Tyson started, petering off of, his prime, in a sense, to where he couldn't really go the distance, because if he couldn't knock you out in the early rounds, then he wasn't going to do that well. But I think I don't know, I wasn't there, but I'm guessing he was very strategic, and especially his trainers, and knowing that, hey, I'm coming back, I'm older now, and this is going to be a much faster opponent. I mean, he is known for dancing around the ring, almost in a sense as if I could be fighting somebody close enough to Muhammad Ali in regards to, like, speed and dancing and evasion. Well, probably the closest person now is Floyd Mayweather, but it's too huge of a weight difference, so that would definitely not happen. But I think Tyson did really well with it, because I mean, he didn't seem nowhere near as tired. Again, he wasn't getting the same punishment that Roy was getting, but he went the distance, and he looked really great. So I guess my next question is, from there, can he and Evander actually go that distance? Because I'm guessing this wouldn't be the same thing as an exhibition match like with this, right? Or would it?
It would still be another exhibition match because Tyson has no intentions on fighting a real match. Fighting as far as like nothing. He's not going to do anything other than like exhibitions. Like he's not going to touch his professional record moving forward. So therefore, anything that doesn't count towards your professional record is considered an exhibition. So that's the thing with Tyson. Now, the second thing with Evander that you said earlier that I didn't know was he's not fighting unless the purse is $25 million. For him, I can tell you he's not going to be fighting it, right? Because I can guarantee you Evander Holyfield at 50. How old is Evander Holyfield? I want to get his exact age. I can tell you Evander Holyfield, I'm pretty sure he's 58 years old. He's 58 years old. There's no way anyone is going to pay Evander Holyfield at 58. And if this fight happens, it would have to happen like a year from now or, 9 months from now. So probably closer to 59 years old. Nobody's going to pay him $25 million to get in the ring. Nobody in the world is going to like that's what the guys are getting that are professional. Like not to say Evander Holyfield isn't a professional, but that are like actually boxing for the profession right now. And Evander Holyfield isn't boxing for his profession right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so nobody's gonna give him $25 million, even if it's Mike Tyson. And the reason why I say that is because Mike Tyson, the max, he was only promised $1 million for his fight against Roy Jones. He was only promised $1 million. Now he could make, due to the pay-per-view, how many was bought or whatever, he could make up to $10 million. That was his cap. His cap was $10 million, but he was only promised one, right? So that's Mike Tyson. As of right now, Mike Tyson's name is 10 times the name of Evander Holyfield. Mike Tyson has cartoon shows and TV shows and podcasts, and he's everywhere. He's in movies. He's everywhere, right? Not to mention his history as a world champion boxer, right? The name Evander Holyfield doesn't ring the same bells that the name Mike Tyson does, simply because of who he is as a personality, who he is as a personality back in the 80s, the 90s, but especially right now, because that's what matters. Right now is what matters. Now Evander Holyfield in 1994 could have got $25 million for a fight, but Evander Holyfield in 2020, when you're not on TV, when you're not a personality, when you don't have a huge social media presence or internet presence or recognizable to millennials, like most people, if Evander Holyfield walked in a room with them right now, they wouldn't be able to tell you who he was, right? But Mike Tyson, that's not the same. That's not the same. So there's no way in the hell Evander Holyfield would get $25 million to fight anybody, so let alone getting in the ring with Mike, because Mike's gonna make more. Like Mike would have to make more. So if you get $25 million, Mike's got to get 35. You know what I'm saying? And there's nobody that's gonna pay $60 million to put on a 58-year-old Evander Holyfield versus 54-year-old Mike Tyson boxing match. It's just not gonna happen.
Maybe somebody would be generous. Look, man, I'll pay the 25. Like just fight the guy. Like crap. I'm hoping. But actually, let me go ahead and share the rest of this so that all of you guys can see. And for everybody that's tuning in, like I said, please like the video, like this, so that people can see it. More people can see this. It can spread out. More people can see what we're doing. This is the Black Boss channel, and also subscribe to the Black Boss channel so that more people can see this and see all this great stuff we're putting up for you. Because we're putting up great content for you, and we're trying the best that we can, and we can only get better from here. So make sure you like and share. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to this article that was on ESPN from Evander Holyfield talking about Mike Tyson. So let me see. Basically, again, he was saying that it seems like there was excuses coming from the Tyson side. He said he wants to fight, but he's hearing nothing but excuses. And after watching the fight with Jones, now he's interested again. He was like, hey, just sign a contract, get in the ring. I'm ready to fight. And this is Mike Tyson speaking here. And he's saying maybe Evander needs to talk to me because every time my business associates talk to his business associates, it doesn't turn out well. Tyson said after the fight Saturday. So I don't know if you could see what we made tonight. If these guys really care about the welfare of Evander, they would have had this fight with Evander. Maybe we'll do another, but whoever he's with, whoever is handling him is totally wrong. And so that is on Tyson's side. But also, I want to read this before. This is going back to what I was saying earlier with Jeff, my guest, sports analyst Jeff Lightsy Jr. So it says Tyson and Jones were both set to receive a guaranteed $1 million purse, with Tyson reportedly in position to make $10 million after pay-per-view buys came in. The 58-year-old Holyfield told the I Am Athlete podcast last week that I wasn't getting in the ring for less than $25 million. So it seems clear they have to work out the financial ass for a Tyson Holyfield exhibition to happen. And so, yeah, that is what's at stake right now. So it seems like a little miscommunication between both camps, or maybe Evander, from what I'm kind of, this just popped in my head now, maybe he's just like putting on a show to make it seem like, hey, I'm ready to fight, but I ain't really trying to fight. You know, so I don't know. I mean, I would love to see that fight. I would love to see that third fight just to see what could happen. But just like, you know, just like you said, there's something to take into consideration too, where it's going to be a year from now for them to have to train and get ready for that. And so they're going to be older, and you know, especially Evander Holyfield, he's going to be close to 60. And I think they can't do it because Jones and Tyson, they did a great job, even though both of them are in their 50s. They look great. But, you know, it's just like, will this really be a fight that we all would love to see? So would the exhibition be an 8-round cap? Is that how the exhibition is typically, or can it go to 12 rounds? Because I know
it's just dependent on the agreement between the fighters and the promoters and everything. Like, so when you do exhibition matches, like, you make your own rules, right? Like, that's why Triller was able to say no knockouts as far as was it Tyson versus Roy Jones? They made the rule, like, no knockouts. They made the cap at 6 rounds or 8 rounds or however many rounds they wanted. Like, you make your own rules when it's an exhibition. Now, that's why, like, it's not a professional. If it was a professional bout, there's always 12 rounds. There's always this kind of rules and that kind of rules and this kind of gloves and that kind of, like, there's specific rules. And that's why I know if Holyfield is just talking out the side of his neck, that's essentially what Tyson just said. He said, I don't know who in the hell is telling Evander like this dumb stuff, right? Like, you're going to make $25 million. But that's why in that quote that you read, he was saying, you need to see what we made. We made $1 million off the top. I have the cap at 10. Roy has a cap at 3. And that's what we going home with. And we happy about it. And we going home with all our limbs, our brain intact. Everything's all good. But you talking about some $25 million. Like, that's why he said, I think we just need to have a conversation, because my business associates are probably telling Evander, hey, man, this is what the price somebody going to pay us for, whether it's Triller or HBO or Showtime or, TikTok or whoever's going to put on the next fight. Like, this is what the numbers they're kind of telling us. Now, I'm going to make more than you because I'm the name, right? Like, people coming to see me. But, like, it's great that you are a name and you're someone who's actually beat me twice in our prime, right? So that's why. But you talking about $25 million, you don't want to box. Like, just say that. Just say you don't want to box. Just say you want to get a little clout off of my name right now. Like, because you ain't getting $25 million to get in the ring with me. Like, that just ain't happening. Because ain't nobody gonna pay you that much. Ain't nobody gonna pay me that much. That's just the way is the world we living in right now.
Man, because it's funny because you would think, I mean, especially after seeing the match between Mike and Roy, that I don't know, maybe somebody would, be like, okay, I'll give this last hurrah, because you don't think even with the last hurrah that somebody would be like, all right, man, I'll throw $25 million. We have some billionaires out there now.
You gotta think of how much $25 million is, right? Like, you have to sell a ton of pay-per-views to make that back. Like, how many times is $50 going to $25 million, right? And now take that, like, $50 into $25 million, and then you have to really, like, double or triple it, because if you're giving one, like I said, if you're giving Evander $25 million, you got to give Mike 30 or 35. Like, Mike is the name. Like, Mike is the only reason why. Like, if Holyfield wanted to fight Roy Jones, ain't nobody buying that. Like, wouldn't nobody bought that stuff? So Mike is the draw, and it's a bigger draw because it's Mike versus Holyfield. So like that, and Holyfield they have a history. Mike did his ear, and you know what I'm saying. Mike did whatever they did back in the '90s, and Holyfield's 2-0. So that's why it's a draw. That's why it's a name. But if you put Holyfield in the ring with George Foreman or some other old heavyweight fighter, ain't nobody buying that. They're buying it because it's Mike Tyson. They're buying it because Tyson is still relevant in 2020 and Holyfield ain't. So therefore, Holyfield don't get the pay-per-view fights. No, he don't. He just don't. That's why he and Holyfield, the reason why he's fighting or he won 25 million, because what did I just say? Holyfield's last fight was 10 years ago. The man's 58 years old. That means he was fighting till he was damn near 50. He was fighting as a professional, like wins, like these still counted, not exhibition matches like what Mike's doing, but he was fighting till he was damn near 50 and was about to die in the ring because he don't have no money. His kids were begging him to come home, begging him to stop taking fights, and he was still getting knocked out 10 years ago. So nah, man, you're not getting $25. You're not getting no pay-per-view buys. I might not even watch that for real. Like, I'm just be honest with you. Me personally, I don't know if I'd see it, but they damn sure ain't getting 25 million a piece or 25 for Holyfield and 35 for Mike in 2021. Nah, I mean the pandemic hopefully will be over by then. People gonna be outside. They're not gonna be checking for Evander Holyfield. I can tell you that.
Man, that's fun because we had some people. I hope I'm saying your name right. The Twain. Gant said they had their run already. I just popped it back up. He said it's done. It's done. One and done. Over. Chet said Holyfield is broke. He wants his one last big score. Ocean's 11. He wants the big score again. It's one last time. So,
that's all it is, and that's why he's talking crazy, saying dumb stuff like $25 million to fight. Like, nah, man.
Yeah.
The prime boxers in the world of boxing right now, like the Earl Spence and the guy that just Tank Davis, and these guys are getting $25 million fights, and these guys are in their 20s, right? Terrence Crawford, Holyfield at 60 ain't getting a $25 million fight. Like, it ain't happening. It ain't happening.
Yeah, and I did the math, man. What you were saying, like, $50 and 25 million, you would need 500,000 people to watch. To pay 50.
Yeah, buys. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and that's just to cover. That's just to cover Holyfield's tab. You need 500,000 buys to cover Holyfield's tab. Who's gonna pay for the Staples Center? Because that's what they used in Tyson and Roy Jones. Who's gonna pay for the Staples Center? Who's gonna pay Mike's ticket? You know what I'm saying? Who's gonna pay the undercards that you gotta have? Whether it's Nate Robinson and Jake Paul Part 2 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because that would be a bigger buy, or that would be a bigger main event than Tyson and Holyfield at this point, or right up there. So who's gonna pay for them? Like, nah, man. Holyfield, you can go kick rocks, man. You ain't making no sense right now. I'm making no sense at all.
You say he over there tripping. He's tripping, man. Hey, that's just amazing to me, man, because it's interesting. He's talking cash money, and he wants cash money. But you're right. I could care less to see a Holyfield fight right now. If Holyfield was fighting whoever, I'm not watching it. I don't care. I mean, and it sucks. But Mike Tyson is the bigger name. He is the bigger draw. So I can see why people just like, I'm not paying for that. So man, it's crazy. But I guess so. I know we had the one guy that said they should both stop and hang it up. Do you think they should both stop and hang it up, or do you think that
definitely
they should? Okay,
definitely. Well, I get what Mike is saying, and he said it in his post-fight interviews against Roy. It's just like, man, I'm doing this for fun. I'm doing this to stay in shape. I'm doing this as a thing. I'm not really doing this to make money, right? Even though he could get up to $10 million, which ain't nothing to slouch at. Mike ain't broke. At one point he was broke. Mike was hurting at one point. But Mike, like I said, is on television, is in movies, has a really good podcast, is an advocate for cannabis, and I'm pretty sure he's in on the cannabis industry out in the West Coast. Like, Mike is doing well for himself right now. And then you add the fact that he can go out and pull in a $10 million paycheck from an exhibition fight because he is doing so well, because his name is that big, because he's that big of a personality. So Mike's doing pretty good for himself. So and he's only in it to do it for the fun, whereas Holyfield looks like he's doing it just by simply saying that you want $25 million lets me know you're only in this for a payday. And you're using Mike because y'all do have a history and Mike could get you paid, but even Mike can't get you $25 million. It just ain't gonna happen.
Man, that's wild. This will be the last question for you, Jeff, and for everybody's tuning in. So this is from Chet. So he said, who should Mike fight next then? If it's not Evander, who do you think it should be?
I think don't get me wrong. I do think it should be Evander, right? I just think Evander has to be realistic. He has to be real. Like, you have to take a deal similar to what Roy Jones did. You got to take $1 million guaranteed, like a $1 million paycheck guaranteed, and then the pay-per-view buys. You probably have because of Mike and Evander, that's going to get you pretty good buys. You should probably cap out around 5, maybe 8 million, right? And then Tyson will get that same 10, maybe 12, 15, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Something that's more realistic. The $25 million is what I didn't agree with. I definitely think it should be Evander because I think that's how they can both maximize the amount of money that they get. But if you think you're going to go in the ring, and that's why Tyson said, we got to talk because I got to break this stuff down to him. He must have forgot or lost some brain cells. He ain't fought in a long time. We got to be realistic about this. This ain't 1995. You know what I'm saying? This is 2020 or 2021, technically. We got to really think about the figures here. Like $25 million, that ain't realistic. Us getting the kind of check ain't realistic. What's realistic is what Tyson and Roy Jones did. Roy Jones took his $3 million and went about his day. That's a lot bigger paycheck than I ever got for doing one thing for 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Essentially, I ain't never got a paycheck nowhere near that amount, especially not for 30 minutes worth of work.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, because, man, to get, just like you said, 30 minutes and for $3 million for 30 minutes. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, it's gonna make me mad just trying to break that down. How much you got paid per hour, man? I ain't even gonna. I might try to break that. But
it ain't a per hour because you just did it for 30 minutes.
right. Half an hour.
Exactly.
Good Lord. Man, goodness. So he's basically. I'm not. No, I just looked at the numbers. I just looked at the numbers. I ain't gonna do it, man. So that's crazy. That is why. So, man, I would like to see Mike and Evander get back in the ring myself. But yeah, just like you said, I mean, Evander does need to chill out. I think he is kind of wilding out with the 25 mil. Or unless you just got somebody that's willing to invest their money, like, hey, I got somebody, Elon Musk wants to invest 25 million in this fight.
An investment at that point. That's a donation. It ain't an investment. You ain't gonna make it back. I'm just telling you. It's too many ways you can bootleg fights, streaming, all kinds of stuff. You're not gonna make that back. Like, it's too many people at home bored that can hack into stuff like that to think you're gonna make a profit when you paying each fighter $25+ million. You're not gonna make that back. So that's just a donation. If somebody wants to donate that to them, then by all means go ahead. But you're not gonna make a profit. It's not an investment because you're not gonna make a profit.
So I'm guessing if not Holyfield, if that doesn't happen, who would you like to see Mike fight next? Yeah. What are your? Do you have a list?
I don't have a list because once again, we're talking about 50-year-old fighters, y'all. Like, we're talking about some old men, and I'm only 25. I can't think of all them fighters because you got to think Holyfield. Well, Tyson came to prominence in the 80s. I wasn't born in the 80s, and then Tyson and Holyfield fought in 94. I think the first time. I wasn't born in 94. I think in either 95 or 96 the second time, and I was just the mere toddler, near baby boy. So I'm not so sure who they should fight. Who was the big dog in the 90s, or who is still in shape enough at 50 years old to get in the ring like Roy Jones was with Mike. So I'm not sure. I'm sure they'll think of somebody, and if Tyson wants it to happen, they'll make it happen.
Because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, what would be interesting if he fight Lennox Lewis. I don't even know if Lennox Lewis has been working out at all. It might be the worst thing ever. Lennox Lewis might come in there and just look like trash right now. So he probably just been chilling, you know, like, man, I ain't got to fight. I ain't got to do none of this stuff. So, the Chet had a question. He said, so who do you think will win? If it was Mike versus Holyfield, who do you think Holyfield? I mean, from what, I mean, he has been the shorter time being
retired
away from the ring than Mike. But you think Mike got a chance if he goes?
Yeah, Mike would probably, you know, beat the hell out of the Holyfield.
Really?
And just being real, I really do think that, because once again, Holyfield is pushing 60, right? Like, he's pushing 60, and Mike is someone. The reason why Holyfield was able to beat Mike in the 90s, if you know anything about that, is because Holyfield was a dominant fighter. He was really, really good. But Mike was kind of spiraling out of control, just like his life. You know, Mike rose to prominence in the 80s, the late 80s. He was a 20-year-old heavyweight champion, right? I think he was, in his first 21 fights, he was 21-0 with 20 knockouts or something like that. So that's really when he came to prominence. By the mid-90s, he was still a pretty dominant fighter, but his life, the trajectory of his life was going downhill. He was getting caught up. He ended up going to jail. He was battling drugs and all kinds of stuff. And so Holyfield caught him at the right time. Holyfield was a clean cut, you know, buttoned up person. And he came into the ring ready to box, where Tyson came into the ring ready to antagonize and do some other stuff and not really box. So I got into biting him. And so, but now Mike has done a complete 180. His life is on track and he's working out. He's in shape. He's lost his weight. I definitely think Mike would give Holyfield, would rock his bell a couple times if they were allowed to hit up top. I think he'd be able to knock him out. That's for sure.
Because I definitely would like to see, like, no kind of stipulations, like no knockouts, no cuts. And so, I mean, I want to see them actually. I mean, which it sucks because they're old guys. But I want to see boxers. I mean, if I'm going to see some boxers, I want to see them box. You know, I don't want to see no kitty gloves and, you know, just like you said, pillow fights. I want to see a fight. So give me a fight. but yeah, I mean, actually, you know, that's all I got for you today, man. And thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you tuning in, man, with us, taking the time out of your day. I know it was kind of last minute, but I appreciate it. But I was just like, man, because I could talk about this myself, but I was like, I gotta have that perspective. I gotta have Jeff Lightsy's perspective on this, because I need to know what he thinks. Because I can say one thing, but I wanted to hear your thoughts, man. So I appreciate that. And for everybody tuning in, please make sure, if you forgot to hit the like button, hit the like button and subscribe to the Black Boss channel. That's where you find myself. That's where you find Jeff Lightsy. And he has his sports segments where he's going in and he's talking about everything that's going on. So if you want to stay up to date with what's going on, follow him on his show. He's really, as you can tell, is very intellectual. He knows what's going on. He studied this. He pays attention, and he lives and breathes this. So. Definitely. Exactly. This guy. Also, to follow Jeff Lightsy, if you really like what he's talking about and you want to see more of what he's talking about, you can follow him here at JLightsy7. You'll find him on Instagram there. Also, you're on Facebook too, right?
Yes. Yes. So, Jeff Lightsy, 13 Sports is on there. You see all my updates, all the stuff I put on the Black Boss channel, and some different stuff as well. So go ahead and follow that if you want to. Check out some different sports related, culture related, whatever's on my mind related stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. And as you can follow me at Facebook and YouTube, just type in John F. Thomas. Or you can follow me, this is my more so personal stuff or acting stuff, on Twitter, IG and Twitter at JT Slimcutter. You see it right there. And if you wanted to follow my podcast, you can follow my podcast on Facebook and YouTube, The JT Effect. And on IG, The JT Effect. On Twitter, The JT Effect Show. Also, I have a podcast. If you would like to watch this, but it's like I don't have time to watch the videos, I just want to listen to the audio, I have my podcast out there on Apple, Google Play, Spotify. But also make sure you leave a review to say, hey, man, this show is off the chain. It's dope. Say something great, or just say awesome. I don't care what you put. Just put something. Put a nice review on there for because we got to support one another. We have to support Black businesses. So, like I said, support Jeff Lightsy. Again, I put this up so y'all can follow him at Jeff Lightsy7 and at J Lightsy7. Sorry, and you can follow me at all the places. And I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Again, subscribe to the Black Boss channel. Jeff, do you have anything to say before we roll on out?
No, that's it, John. I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, and I appreciate all our guests for commenting on here today. Thank you for tuning in. Jeff Hill have some more stuff for y'all this week as the news rolls in, and I'll be on here, I think, one more time this week. So we'll see how it goes. And I'll see y'all later on. Y'all take care of yourself, love yourself, and love one another. And let's support these Black businesses. All right, see y'all. Peace.